What's up, Collins crew? We're back with another video. This time we're doing a reaction. Because I'm a principal, I thought, why not let's do British versus American education. The video has a girl that's from America, but I think she's from up north. So I kind of also wonder if her education in upstate is different than what's down here. All right, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. We post every single
Sunday.
Since Macy's not here. It's just the parents tonight. But again, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and let's get going with today's video.
Another video with me, Teacher Tom, and Jess from Love and London.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. Today we're comparing the British education system with the American education system. So first of all, my question to you is, what age do you start school in America?
So everybody starts at 5, and that's kindergarten. That's the first official grade. Mm-hmm. But also most kids will be put into preschool, which is when you're 3 and 4. But that's usually not public. That's usually paid for by your parents.
Okay, cool.
So Micah started when?
Okay, so Micah started school at 4, and he went to pre-K.
Okay.
And so I think when she was younger, it's a little bit different, at least in Texas. Because we have so many Spanish speakers in Texas, if you speak another language, and again, this comes from my knowledge of working at a school every day, if you have a Spanish speaker or someone who is economically disadvantaged, then that's how you do pre-K now. So if somebody's in pre-K, that means that they had those advantages afforded. And before I was principal, obviously I was a teacher, and teachers do not make a lot of money. So we were able to qualify based on that back then for Micah to go to pre-K. And then Macy did not go to pre-K because our income was too high and we don't have English as a second language. So we didn't qualify for her to go to pre-K.
Yeah, and we start, between 4 and 5 here, and we have, nursery beforehand.
Oh, so when I was in school, elementary started around 9, and then middle school and high school, and we'll get into that in a bit, started early.
Whoa! I don't know if up north does things differently. I have to be at work every morning at 7:30. Kids' first period starts at 7:45.
Yeah.
I don't know where she's going to school.
No, but that is kind of true. When I come home from dropping Macy off, the kids,
our neighbors,
they be just not walking to the bus when I'm bringing Macy. When I'm coming back from dropping Macy off, it's like 8:15, 8:20.
Maybe.
Yeah. So
elementary started at 8, I think.
Yeah.
And my high school started at 7:30. My middle school started at 8:50.
Well,
I did have a late time, but it was middle school. It wasn't elementary. So maybe hers is just different. I mean, maybe they do the same thing with the staggered times because the buses all have to run to all the different schools. So maybe hers just happened to be at a different time.
Earlier and earlier. So high school, there was one year where I had to be at school for 7:30, and my bus came at 6:30. So it was really early. But I think they're changing that now, and they're kind of trying to adjust that because that's quite early.
Yeah, you just mentioned school buses there. That's something that is in my mind when I think about American schools. Is that big yellow school bus? Is that a thing?
Yeah,
Really...
Oh, yeah.
Did you take that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're so
Basically, I have dreams about them still, which is really weird that I keep missing them. But yeah, that's like all through school until you're allowed to drive to school. If you're allowed to drive to school, then you take them.
I didn't stop riding the bus until I got a car when I was 16.
You remember riding the bus?
Yeah, for sure.
You rode the bus?
Every day.
You rode the bus?
Every day.
Yeah, we had.
Because I lived, elementary school I rode my bike.
Elementary, I walked to school.
Middle school, I rode the bus for sure.
Middle school we didn't have a bus. Yeah. Rode the bus middle school, yes.
In high school, I only stopped riding the bus when I got a car.
I rode the bus high school all the way through.
Tell us how did I get to school?
How did I get to school?
Okay, cool. Yeah, I know we have school buses here, but only in more rural areas.
Oh.
Mostly just kind of walk to school or... If you're in London, take a bus. What different types of schools do you have? So you mentioned, was it elementary school?
Yep. So elementary is where you start, and you do that for kindergarten to 5th grade, where you're up till 10. And then most places will have a middle school, which is 11 to 13 years old, and then you'll do high school, which is 14 to 17, 18.
Okay.
Yep,
And
exactly.
then you move on to college after that.
Exactly.
Okay, which I'll
But
get to.
university.
Here in Britain, we have primary school and then secondary school. That's pretty much the only two. I'd like to know about free versus sort of paid education systems. What are the names for those there?
Yeah. So
Public
if you
and
go to
private?
the school the free school, it's called public school. So that's what I did. I went to public school, and then if your parents are paying for it for you, it's private school.
Okay. Aha. Now that's so confusing for us because we have our free schools are state schools. We also have free schools, but there's something else that we'll go into another time. But then our paid schools are private schools. But then we also have public schools, which are not free. They're quite the opposite. They're the most expensive schools. Wow. So we have things like Eton and Harrow. I think Prince William and Prince Harry went to Eton, which is a public school. So it sounds like it should be free, but it's the opposite.
It confuses me.
So they public school is
Like rich people's school.
is like
But we have private school the same way they're talking about, but we don't.
it's all private.
Yeah, but we don't categorize. Like you have more expensive private schools and you have less expensive private schools.
Yeah.
Some less expensive private schools are usually done through some type of church.
Okay.
Me every time I hear it, because I don't understand why you would call it public when it is completely the opposite of that.
Yeah, completely. At school, do you have to wear uniforms?
Oh, you just said
See, we just talked about.
Mostly, if you go to public school, so free school, you don't. I never wore uniforms when I went to school.
Right.
If you go to a private school, generally they do, because a lot of private schools
Charter,
are
you
Catholic
do.
schools or based on some kind of religion.
They-
But yeah, when I was growing up, all the private schools around me, they all wore uniforms.
Okay.
Yeah.
In a lot of the American TV shows I've seen, there are kind of like groups of people, and you've got like the geeks and the jocks. Oh, the jocks! Yeah. What can you explain to us like what the group? Because I was thinking about like there are sort of unwritten rules for uniforms, right? Like if you're a jock, if you're a goth, if you're something else, a geek, you have to wear certain types of clothes. But is that a thing in the States where you have like these groups of kids?
Yeah, it is. It's not like how it is in the films. It's definitely, at least where I went to school, I felt like that was quite over dramatized, but sports is a really, really big thing in most, especially public schools, especially for boys in public schools.
Yeah.
They, and then there's a lot of like camaraderie around the American football team, some of the other teams, especially if they're really good. So I would say like the sports, the jocks are, which no one actually calls them the jocks when you're in school.
Yeah.
But the people who play sports very much stuck together, and then just like anywhere in life, really, it just everyone kind of comes together by their common interests. So
okay, all right. So it's not as exaggerated as some of those shows.
No, I mean, not where I went to school, so it could be different other places, and some schools have more of a lean towards, especially around like LA, they have more of a lean towards the dramatic arts, so that's a much bigger group than the people who do sports, so it just depends.
Okay, but high school sport is a big thing.
Yes, yeah, really big thing, yeah.
There's even a TV show on Netflix, but it's all about like the American football teams of high schools, and they kind of follow the trials and tribulations of each team. But yeah. So it sounds like it's like a big thing. There's like bands and cheerleaders and
yeah. I mean, and they usually, American football is the biggest team. It depends on the school, because some schools have better
basketball,
soccer teams. It feels weird for me to say soccer.
I don't know about soccer.
No, we didn't have a soccer. We didn't have a soccer.
It's either you have a great football team or a great basketball team.
Yeah.
And one of those
baseball team. Wait, you might have a good baseball team.
We do it now. Our son Micah plays football, and the stadiums are packed every single week. And he's only in 7th grade. One of the teams he played against recently, they have a full-blown dance team that come out and do a halftime show.
Yeah, it was more football, basketball. We had a good baseball team in our school and track team. So it all depended on what part of the season it was, but the baseball team was good, and it was more like the football and basketball for us. That's what really just kind of drove the school to
Some of them have better baseball teams, but usually there's the biggest camaraderie around American football, and like we do things called a pep rally where it kind of opens the season and it gets everyone excited. And like you said, there's cheerleaders. I did dance team, and we did performances at the football games, also basketball games, and that's where like they have the biggest bleachers usually for people to sit and watch, and it's a whole thing.
Right. It's funny actually, even comparing the sports, like you're talking about American football, basketball, baseball. These are the big sports, right? Whereas in British schools, we're talking about football or soccer, as you said, rugby, cricket, basketball to an extent, maybe netball, things like that. So different sports as well. Going back a little bit to the grades or years. So you call them grades, right? So when you enter school, how does it work?
Yeah, so kindergarten is the first one, like we spoke about before, and that's when you're 5. And then the next one, when you're 6, is first grade, and then it just keeps going up to 12th grade.
Okay.
And then when you get to high school, that the freshman, sophomore, junior, senior thing kicks in. So freshman is when you're 14, that's 9th grade. 10th grade, sophomore, 11th, junior, and senior is 12th grade.
That's in high school?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you have that in high school and in college as well?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so in Britain we have reception is the first year, that's 4 to 5, and then it's class 1, 2, 3, or year 1, 2, 3, continuing through to 12, I think. Yeah, I'll double check that, but yes, I think so. What exams do you guys have?
So it kind of actually depends on the state that you're in, because different states have different standardized tests that you have to do. But the biggest test that anyone who wants to go to university has to do is the SAT. Okay. Yeah. So it's a standard test that everyone around the country takes. You have to like pay for it. A lot of people pay. It's big business actually. People pay for tutoring for it.
Oh, so it's not free?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to pay every time you take it.
Wow.
Yeah. And you have to pay for the materials to study for it, and it's like a huge part of your college admission.
Is the SAT, is it one exam or is it lots of different exams?
It's one exam that has, when I did it, it was 3 different parts, but then I think they might have changed it more recently. Okay. And there's also this thing called advanced placement classes where you basically, they're harder than the normal classes. So if you take AP, calculus, it's harder than the usual math that you would take that year. Okay. And for every AP class, you have to take the AP test at the end of the year, and you get a grade on that. And that basically is supposed to show how good you were at that subject.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Did you do any AP?
Yeah. I did a few, and they all go in your college application. So everything's about your college application.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So in Britain, we have, the main ones are GCSEs, and then A-levels. So GCSEs when you're 16, and then A-levels when you're 18. We also have the 11 plus, which takes you from primary school to secondary school. So it determines which one you're going to go to. But it depends on the area that you live in. There's different types of schools that we have. But okay, cool.
So for now, it's the start test all the way through, right?
No. So like she said, she's right. It depends on what state you're in. So, like, if you live in Texas, all kids in Texas take the STAR test. STAR test for us starts in 3rd grade, which is 9, 10 years old, and it goes all the way through 11th grade. So every single year, that's like your big exit test in Texas to move on to the next grade.
That's now, right? That's
So for like she was saying, like when we were in school, it was TOS test.
It was TOS test.
And when it was TOS test, you just took it.
Grade.
No, you took it in 5th.
Okay, 5th grade.
Yeah, you took it 5th, 8th, and 11th.
And 5th, 8th, and 11th.
Yeah, so like kind of like how he was saying for the British system, back in the day, we did that.
A-levels are not, you only do those if you go to college, right?
Yeah, so A-levels get you into university, yeah.
Okay.
So you have to do A-levels to go to university.
Okay.
So GCSEs, there's a sort of broader selection. You can do, I think it's up to 9, 10, I think depends on the individual. And then A-levels, I did 3 A-levels, but I think now there are more. I think you can take 5. Again, I've got a video that goes into this in more depth, so we'll check that out. But yeah, you take, you kind of, as you get older and older, you kind of get more specific, right? Okay. Which I'm sure is the same in the States, when you kind of start from 9 down to 4, and then obviously at university you do 1 main subject. So what age can you leave school? in the States?
You have to go up to
graduate?
18, well, 17, 18. You have to complete 12th grade.
Graduate.
You technically can drop out, but you really want to keep going because your prospects of jobs are really hard if you haven't graduated high school.
Yeah. So in Britain, it used to be that you could leave at 16 and just do whatever you want. Now, if you leave at 16, you have to either do do some kind of part-time work and some education alongside, or you have to do some like vocational training, and then until you're 18, and then you can do whatever you want. Or a lot of people stay till they're 18. They do their A levels and then they leave at 18 to do whatever they want. So you have that choice. And there is that moment when you hit 16 when you're like, oh my goodness, like I could leave school. It's a really exciting moment, and generally a lot of people continue. But
and that's
and we can leave school at 16. A lot of people graduate early at 16 too because they get skipped upgrade.
Like I graduated when I was 17.
Aaron graduated at 16.
So like it just depends. So I had some advanced courses, so I graduated early.
Yeah.
So it just depends on when you graduate. But I was still a seat in my senior year. So it just depends.
So 16, 17, 18, same thing, but we leave at 16.
Yeah.
That's when you would go on to college, the UK college, not US.
UK college. Yeah. So exactly. So when you're 16 and you want to continue education, you go to either sixth form college, which could be in the school or it could be a separate entity. So I left my school, my secondary school, and I went to a separate college. Yeah, but it's still for 16 to 18 year olds, different from the American college. Let's get on to the American college. So in Britain we have university, and in the States you have colleges. So what's the college system like?
You don't have university.
It's exciting, but
it's really competitive.
They call you.
And it's very, I think an interesting thing is that people's identities are very much tied up, or generally speaking, can very much be tied up into which university you go to. So there's a lot of things like my parents went to this school and that's
Used
where
to be
I want
like
to
that.
go because I want to continue my
now that they paying them, they can go where they want to go.
is alma mater.
But they paying them, so allow them to go where they want to go.
It's also really expensive.
Because they paying them
really expensive.
Yeah. You hear about parents saving up for years, and they've got like a college fund for their kids so that they can go on to college. So why is college so expensive? Is it just because it's a business? Is that?
Yeah, I think so. So there's a lot of universities and colleges that are not run by the state, by the government, but there's also a lot that are, and those ones are generally cheaper, especially if you're from that state. So if I had gone to school at one of the state schools in New York, it would have been a lot cheaper than the one that I ended up going to. But I had a great experience. But yeah, I think it's the demand is there. Also, I've never been to a university here, but I think they're huge campuses. It's a lot of where they do a lot of research for the U.S. there.
Okay.
So that's part of it. You also get a lot of like amenities, like your housing, gym. They feed you, like depending on the school, very good food or maybe not good. And there's a lot of different programs and things. It's actually like quite a lot of opportunity, but it makes it very expensive.
Okay. Speaking of housing, sorority houses and what's the male one? Fraternity houses. Explain just quickly that system to us.
Yeah.
Because that's very alien.
Oh yeah. So sororities and fraternities are basically what's called Greek life, and you I never did like a traditional one. So I don't know the full story. How it all really goes down. But sororities are for women and fraternities are for men. And it's supposed to be that it's like these people become like your social circle. And some people would say that you kind of like pay for friends. It depends on who you ask. It can be very divisive. People who are in Greek life are very about Greek life, and then people who aren't.
Okay, so two things. One, so we do call our schools university. Like it's the University of Houston. It is the University of Texas. The reason we say college is like college means what you study inside of the university. So you're the College of Medicine. It's not that we say college is like a nickname, but it doesn't, they're not really different. Like university, like he was kind of saying, like you can go to the college at the school. The colleges are different departments inside of the university.
And we didn't do the pledge and all that because
No,
I wouldn't let nobody beat on me and all that, because that's when they was really
Yeah,
torture and all that. They was,
so like Greek life has been notoriously like they do kind of do like Dre said, like the abusive thing, which sounds horrible saying it out loud, but it's the truth. They do what's called hazing,
yes.
and they haze you. I just didn't join because I didn't want to join the sorority that my mom was in. And my mom, my grandma were in the same sorority. So I was what was called a legacy kid. And the legacy kid means I'm expected to join the same sorority as my family bloodline.
Aren't can be very like, what's the point?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's quite interesting. And then sometimes you'll end up living in the dedicated house for that sorority or fraternity. And then sometimes you don't. It just depends.
Okay. My only reference is Animal House, the film Animal House, which is a very exaggerated version, but it seems to me that they're very tight knit, right? You can find a sort of a family, as it were, very very easily. So. Another term that I've heard is Ivy League schools. What's an Ivy League school?
Yeah, so it's basically the simple answer of it is it's a group of schools in the U.S. that are considered like the most elite schools, the hardest to get into. I think there's some kind of classification that makes them Ivy League. I'm not sure exactly, but it's been around for a very, very long time. Yeah. So there is a status thing to say that you go to an Ivy League school or that your kid goes there because it means that they're smart enough to get into it, which is hard. And it also means that you have a lot of money to pay for it. So.
Right. In Britain, we have something called red brick universities, which are it's a group of universities that are considered to be high achieving. So they're things like Manchester, I think, and Leeds are considered to be these kind of revered schools or revered universities. So yeah, kind of that same kind of thing. If someone goes to a red brick, it's like, oh, okay. Like,
are they more expensive though?
No, I don't think so. So fees here. So when I studied, it was £1,000 a year to study, which was seen at the time to be like,
That's
really
so
controversial
cheap.
Because when my sister went, it was free. And then in the sort of like 2000s, they made them you had to pay at least £1,000. But now they are obviously way more expensive. I mean, I don't know the exact cost, but several £1,000s a year. But I know compared to the States, that's
£1,000 doesn't even cover the books for the year.
Correct, exactly.
Right.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So yeah, we're very fortunate here.
Yeah.
I think these days is a lot more expensive, and so that makes people question whether they want to take that step. To go to university.
Well, and I would also say that so it's very, very expensive in the U.S., and this is a very general statement, but if we're comparing, especially if we're comparing salaries in London versus salaries in New York, for people who are university educated, salaries in, again, depending on what you're going into and what school you went to and everything, but salaries in New York are much higher than they are here. So I can imagine people are already questioning the value of that over in the U.S. So I imagine here, especially when you come into London as a 22-year-old and you're trying to get a job and it's like $23,000 a year and you're like, how am I gonna? I can't even afford to pay off my loans with that and to live here. And so I totally get that.
Let's change the tack slightly and talk about a slightly more fun thing: spring break. So when I think about American colleges, I usually think about spring break.
Yeah.
Explain to me what is it, or explain to us what is it, and why is it such a big thing?
Okay, so spring break, I mean, in its simplest term, is just in the spring semester. It's when you have a week off, which is, I don't actually think it aligns. It doesn't align with Easter, but it's just like breaks up. All the classes break up for a week. So what people do with that varies significantly, but it's quite common for people to either do alternative spring break, which is when you sign up to do a volunteer program somewhere in the world. So I did those for a couple of years. Okay. But it's also common for people to go to like Mexico, especially because in the US you obviously can't drink legally till you're 21. So college students love to go to like Mexico, Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, all those places, and go and party for a week.
Did you ever go to Mexico on one of your spring breaks?
No, I never went to Mexico on my spring break, but I definitely gone on spring break. But misconception that he thinks spring break is just college. Spring break is every grade level. Elementary has spring break. I know, but he's saying what is spring break? Elementary has spring break, middle school has spring break, high school has spring break, and college has spring break.
But that's when the spring break really counts.
Yeah, spring break is not fun until you're at least in high school. Spring break, I went to New Orleans for spring break. I've done a couple of things. It just depends. I've done New Orleans on spring break. I've gone to Atlanta at spring break, which are still party cities. So I've gone to places that are still considered party cities, but I didn't go to Mexico. I didn't start going to travel into Mexico until we got older.
So, but why is it that week in spring? Why is it not in the summertime or like Christmas time? Or
because every single university has this 1 week break, and I think in the fall there's a 1 week break usually around Thanksgiving. So but it's Thanksgiving, whereas the spring break one doesn't coincide with any holidays, so nobody really needs to go home to see family. So they just hit the beach.
Okay. We don't have an equivalent here. We don't really have that same kind of thing. But maybe when you leave school, you definitely go on like a trip with your friends.
Lads holiday.
A lads holiday, yeah, to Spain or Greece or something like that. I know that sports are a huge thing. Scholarships. March Madness, I've heard about this.
A lot of it is that there's just, again, like there's this camaraderie and this like connection to the school that you went to. Like people in the US will talk about what school they went to till the day they die, which is a little bit much sometimes. But you wear the sweatshirt, you have the sticker on the car. It's like you just kind of like, it's very much a bonding.
The connection that you guys have to your schools or your colleges is so much stronger than we have. Like for us, it's like, I'm a little bit embarrassed about the one I went to. Like, it's just like, yeah, I went there. We don't have the shirts, but you guys are connected. I know an American friend who used to tutor people who were applying to that college to help them through the process, which I thought was just like, wow, that's above and beyond. Yeah. It's really cool that you're connected to your institutions like that. When you get your degree, I guess it's called a degree, what are the grading for that?
So you have a GPA basically. Do you guys have that?
No.
Okay, so it stands for a grade point average, and so and this is actually the same in most high schools as well. You get for each course and each semester you will get an overall grade for that, and then it starts at like A, B, C, D, and then F is failing. Okay. A's give you the highest points, and then the points are averaged, and that's your GPA. The funny thing is, though, that like no one really talks about GPA after you have the degree. So
yeah, often the way, right? Like you see, especially when you're at school and you get GCSEs and A levels, and then your degree, and you're like, no one cares what once you're in the world of work.
We don't care.
So in Britain we have the class system. So we have a third, which is the lowest you can get. It's a 2-2, a 2-1, and then a first class degree is the top. So
wait, but those are different degrees? Or?
No, different, like A, B, C, D.
Oh, okay.
So you're starting, the bottom is the third. Well, maybe you don't even get a degree. Okay. Then there's third, and it goes up 2-2, 2-1, and then a first.
Okay. I've never understood that.
Yeah, and nor do I. And I let you guys decide which I got, because it wasn't the first. Thank you so much, Jess, for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
If you guys have any questions or anything to add to what we've talked
about. That was interesting.
That was. British education versus American.
Especially that last part, because I was like,
the 2-2, 2-1. Yeah. That was a little bit different.
Yeah.
A lot of things are the same, but it's just they call it different things.
Yeah, it's
like uni and
it seems like a lot of things are the same.
Yeah, it's called.
It's just labeled differently. I mean, the biggest thing I heard was like they have just primary and secondary.
Yeah.
They don't have 3 levels of school. I think that was the
biggest take.
One of the things that like stuck out to me that for sure different, and then like how they don't have pep rallies, and like that's school culture for us. I think that's what we do differently. Like we feel like she kept saying, it's like you're a family. If you're there 8 hours a day, why not enjoy the people that you're around? I'm not just going to school to go to school and come home. I'm there with the people 8 hours a day.
But it was a good watch. It was a real good watch. It was good, knowledge to know about the different universities and different schools and different cultures and how they do things and how we do things. And I think these two people have kind of put it together in a good manner where they
I agree.
Good discussion and kind of help us understand both sides of it if you didn't know.
I think she did a good job representing America.
Yeah.
There's a few things she lost me on, and I was like, what are you talking about? But the majority of it sounds bang on. Doesn't sound like American education, no matter what side of the part of the U.S. you live on. Is pretty much the same.
Yep. Well, that's our channel for today. That's our show for today. That's what we're watching. That's it. Thank y'all for coming by. Comment down below. How was it in your school and what was your favorite grade?
Ooh,
What was your favorite grade to be in? Put that in the comments below. Until next time, we post every Sunday. Hit the like button, hit the comment. Go ahead, subscribe if you haven't subscribed.
All right, and don't forget, Jesus loves you.
Bye.